There is a silent tax that cripples nations, a disease that rots governments from the inside out. It's not poverty. It's not war, it's corruption. A shadow economy of bribery, embezzlement, and kleptocracy that steals from the poor, empowers the wicked, and destabilizes the entire world. While you pay your taxes and follow the rules, a global network of leaders is looting their national treasuries with impunity, hiding their billions in offshore accounts while their people suffer. This is not just about bad governance. This is about a criminal conspiracy operating at the highest levels of power. And tonight, we are counting down the 10 most corrupt governments on Earth. In the next few moments, we will name names and expose the regimes that have turned public service into private profit. We will reveal the African nation where the president built a $100 million church while his people starved. We will expose the Middle Eastern dictatorship that operates like a mafia family, with the leader siphoning billions to build personal palaces in the desert. We will show you how North Korea runs a global criminal syndicate, from counterfeiting dollars to running hacking rings, all to fund the Kim dynasty. And we will uncover the European nation inside TEU that is so thoroughly captured by oligarchs. It's become a black hole for money laundering. This is a journey into the heart of darkness, to the capitals where corruption isn't a flaw in the system, it is a system. Before we begin our countdown, we must understand what we are measuring. This isn't about a police officer taking a small bribe. We are talking about grand, systemic corruption kleptocracy. This is when a ruling class, often led by a single dictator or a political party, systematically confuses the national treasury with their personal bank account. They use state power not to govern, but to enrich themselves and their cronies. They sell off national resources, award massive government contracts to shell companies they control, and create a shadow financial system to hide their stolen wealth in London townhouses, New York skyscrapers, and Caribbean bank accounts. This high-level corruption creates a culture of impunity that filters down to every level of society, from the judge who can be bought to the official who demands a payment for a simple permit. It destroys trust, crushes economic growth, and fuels mass emigration. It is a cancer that metastasizes, killing the host nation slowly but surely. 3, 0, 1, 2, 5 o'clock. Number 10. Venezuela, the socialist nightmare. Kicking off our list at number 10 is a nation that proves ideology is no shield against greed. Venezuela, sitting on the world's largest proven oil reserves. Venezuela should be the richest country in South America. Instead, it is an economic collapse and a humanitarian disaster. The reason? A kleptocratic regime that has systematically looted the state-owned oil company, PDVSA, for over 2 decades, under the socialist guise of Hugo Chavez and his successor, Nicolas Maduro. A small circle of military and political elites has embezzled an estimated $300 billion. They did this through a web of phantom companies, crooked procurement deals, and outright theft. While the people queue 4 hours for a loaf of bread and doctors operate without electricity, the regime's inner circle, known as the Bolivarian bourgeoisie, flaunts their wealth in Miami and Madrid. Venezuela is a textbook case of how a resource-rich nation can be driven into the ground by a government that treats it not as a country to be served, but as a carcass to be picked clean. 5:01 to 7 o'clock. Number 9. Turkmenistan, the North Korea of Central Asia. At number 9, we travel to one of the most isolated and bizarre dictatorships on Earth. Turkmenistan, ruled by a succession of eccentric, totalitarian presidents. This gas-rich nation is a personality cult built on a foundation of absolute corruption. The current leader, Serdar Muhammado, and his father before him, have complete control over the country's vast natural gas wealth. They have built a surreal city of white marble monuments in the desert. While the majority of the population lives in Soviet-era poverty, corruption is the only way to get anything done. Every public official, from a local administrator to a minister, must pay for their position, creating a pyramid of bribery that funnels money upward to the ruling family. There is no free press, no political opposition, and no independent judiciary. The state is not just corrupt, it is the private property of one family, a gilded prison for 6 million people where dissent is met with torture and disappearance. It is a black box of corruption, so opaque that the true scale of the looting is almost impossible to measure. 7:01 to 9 o'clock. Number 8. Guinea. The resource curse in action. Number 8 on our list is the West African nation of Guinea. This is a tragic story of the resource curse, where vast mineral wealth becomes a curse that fuels corruption and conflict instead of prosperity. Guinea possesses over half the world's reserves of bauxite. The ore used to make aluminum. For decades, its leaders have treated these resources as their personal piggy bank. The most infamous was President Lansana Conté, who ruled for 24 years and bled the country dry. But the corruption did not end with him. Successive governments, both civilian and military, have signed secret, undervalued mining deals with international corporations, taking massive kickbacks into their offshore accounts. The recent military junta, led by Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, promised to end corruption, but has instead been accused of continuing the same practices, using violence and intimidation to control the lucrative mining sector. In Guinea, the fight for the presidential palace is not a fight to lead the nation. It is a fight for the keys to the vote. 9:01 to 10:30. Part 1 conclusion y Part 2 teaser. So far, we have seen the socialist kleptocracy of Venezuela, the totalitarian family rule of Turkmenistan, and the resource-cursed pillaging of Guinea. These are governments where corruption is the entire operating system, but the list gets even darker. In Part 2, we will enter the top 5. We will expose the nation whose leader built a $100 million penthouse in New York with stolen funds. We will reveal the country that operates as a global criminal syndicate, running, hacking, and counterfeiting rings from its capital. And we will name the number 1 most corrupt government on earth. A regime so brazen it has institutionalized looting as a tool of state policy. The worst is yet to come. We now entered the Hall of Shame, the top 5 most corrupt governments on the planet. These are not just nations with corrupt leaders. These are states that have been wholly captured by criminal enterprises, where the line between government and organized crime has been completely erased. The scale of theft here is almost unimaginable, and the human suffering it causes is incalculable. 11:01 to 13 o'clock. Number 7. IRAQ. The post-invasion free-for-all. At number 7, we have Iraq. The 2003 US-led invasion didn't just topple a dictator. It shattered the Iraqi state and created a perfect environment for kleptocracy to flourish. In the chaos that followed, an estimated $150 billion of oil revenue in US reconstruction funds has simply vanished. This was not a single act of theft, but a systemic capture of the entire government. Political parties created complex networks of phantom employees, ghost soldiers on the military payroll, and skimmed billions from every public contract. This systemic corruption directly led to the rise of ISIS, when Iraqi soldiers, who hadn't been paid because their commanders had stolen the money, abandoned their posts and handed over their American-supplied weapons to the terrorists. Today, corruption in Iraq is so normalized that it is the primary function of the political system. Politicians form governments, not to govern, but to control ministries and use them as tools for embezzlement. The Iraqi people are the victims, caught between militias and thieves, in a nation that was bled dry after it was liberated. 13:01 to 15 o'clock. Number 6. Afghanistan, the kleptocracy that lost a war. If Iraq shows how corruption breeds instability, then number 6, Afghanistan, shows how it can lose a war. For 20 years, the United States spent over $2 trillion to prop up the Afghan government and build a national army. A staggering portion of that money was stolen by a small, interconnected cabal of politicians, warlords, and government officials. The US was essentially funding both sides of the war, building the Afghan army, while also, through corruption, funding the Taliban via bribes and protection payments. Afghan officials would demand bribes for everything from business licenses to security contracts. The infamous ghost soldiers phenomenon meant that commanders would pocket the salaries of non-existent troops, leading to an army that was a paper tiger. When the Taliban finally advanced in 2021, this corrupt house of cards collapsed in days. The leaders who had preached democracy and reform had already secured their fortunes in Dubai and Turkey, and they simply fled, abandoning their people and their soldiers. The Afghan Republic didn't fall to the Taliban. It was rotted from within by corruption long before it collapsed. 15:01 to 17 o'clock. Number 5. South Sudan, Looting a newborn nation at number 5. We have the youngest nation on earth, and one of its most corrupt, South Sudan, born out of a long and bloody struggle for independence from Sudan. South Sudan had the world's goodwill and significant oil reserves, but within years, its leaders had plunged it back into a civil war, largely over control of oil revenue. The ruling elite, led by President Salva Kiir and his rivals, have treated the state as a prize to be looted. Billions of dollars in oil money have disappeared from government coffers, spent on luxury arms purchases for private militias and lavish lifestyles in Nairobi and Kampala. For the political class, a recent investigation found that over $4 billion was simply stolen in a matter of years, money that was meant for schools, hospitals, and roads. In South Sudan, corruption is not just theft. It is a weapon of war, used to buy loyalty and fund militias that keep the population in a state of terror and famine. They are stealing the future of an entire nation before it even has a chance to begin. 1701 to 19 o'clock. Number 4. North Korea. The criminal syndicate. State breaking into the top 4. We encounter a unique beast. North Korea. This is not merely a corrupt government. It is a state that operates as a transnational criminal organization. The Kim dynasty has perfected a system of crime for profit to bypass international sanctions and fund its nuclear program and luxurious lifestyle. North Korean operatives run a global network of illicit activities. They counterfeit US dollars and Chinese cigarettes, traffic drugs, run smuggling rings, and engage in massive The Lazarus Group, a state-sponsored hacking team, has stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from banks and cryptocurrency exchanges worldwide. This is not corruption for personal greed alone, though that is a factor. It is institutional, state-directed criminality. The entire apparatus of the North Korean state is geared towards these illegal activities, making it the most sophisticated and dangerous criminal enterprise on the planet, one that happens to have nuclear weapons. 1901 to 21 o'clock, number 3 and 2. Sudan and Somalia, failed states, perfected corruption. Our number 3 and 2 spots go to two nations where the state has all but ceased to function, leaving corruption as the only remaining industry. At number 3, Sudan. For 30 years, the regime of Omar al-Bashir institutionalized corruption as a tool of control. He and his National Congress Party created a sprawling shadow state, siphoning off billions from oil and gold revenues. The system was so entrenched that even after a popular revolution ousted Bashir, the deep state of military and intelligence officials, known for their immense wealth, refused to cede power. Corruption in Sudan is the glue that holds the ruling class together, a shared interest in looting that transcends political rivalries. And at number 2, Somalia. For decades, Somalia has been the textbook example of a failed state, with no central government for years, and a weak one now. Corruption is the law of the land. What little foreign aid arrives is systematically stolen by a network of government officials and warlords. Pirates off the coast of Somalia are just the most visible symptom of a disease that has infected the entire country, a complete breakdown where might makes right. And every public office is a tool for private extortion. It is a free-for-all where the concept of public service does not exist. 2101 to 23 o'clock. Number 1. The most corrupt government on earth. And now, the number 1 spot. The most corrupt government on earth is a regime that has turned embezzlement into an art form. A country where the leader and his family have personally looted the state with a brazenness that shocks the world. Based on the depth of state capture, the scale of stolen wealth, and the devastating impact on its people, the number 1 most corrupt government is the Democratic Republic of Congo. For over 2 decades, under the rule of Joseph Kabila, and continuing under Felix Tshisekedi, the DRC has been the scene of the greatest looting in modern history. This is a country fabulously rich in cobalt, copper, diamonds, and gold minerals, essential for our modern technology. Yet, its people are among the poorest on earth. Why? Because the entire mining sector is a kleptocrat's dream. Billions of dollars in mining revenues vanish through a complex web of offshore companies, shell corporations, and secret deals. A landmark investigation, Congo Holdup, revealed how just one former president, Joseph Kabila, and his inner circle embezzled hundreds of millions through a single bank. They sold off national assets for a pittance to front companies they controlled. The corruption is so total that it fuels the endless wars in the eastern DRC, as militias and army generals fight over control of the illegal mineral trade. The DRC is not a country with a corruption problem. It is a massive, resource-rich territory that is being systematically and utterly looted. Its wealth shipped abroad, while its people live in hell. It is the epicenter of global kleptocracy. Las 11:01 de la noche, 2:05. Conclusión: the cost of corruption. From the deserts of Turkmenistan to the jungles of the Congo, the story is the same. Corruption is not a victimless crime. It is the root cause of poverty, war, and terrorism. It destroys lives, fuels mass migration, and undermines global security. The stolen trillions from these 10 nations don't just disappear. They are laundered through the world's financial centers in New York real estate, London banks, and Dubai skyscrapers. The West is not an innocent bystander. Our financial system is the getaway car. The fight against corruption is not just about morality. It is the most critical battle for global stability in the 21st century. Until we hold the kleptocrats and their enablers accountable, this silent war will continue to claim millions of victims, robbing entire nations of their future and their hope.